Hello. Technology. How are we?
Hi.
Hi, Armistead. How are you?
I'm, I'm okay. I'm a confused old man right now, but
That's all.
No,
this what we're doing?
yep,
You're
you're good.
fine. We're so happy to have you here.
Thank
Um,
you very much. I'm
uh,
happy to be there.
Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us and your editor, who'll be on in 1 second, and the librarians to talk about your latest installment in the Tales of the City series. Yeah, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Virginia Stanley.
I'm muted, but now that I'm unmuted, I'm Lainey Mays.
I'm Grace Catanolo.
And
I'm
we're
Armistead Maupin. Oops.
No, who are you?
Am I muted?
No, you're perfect. Why don't you tell
Okay,
everybody who you are?
I'm Armistead Maupin. I'm delighted to be here. Honored to be amidst the company of librarians.
And
Thank
I'm
you.
Millicent Bennett.
Or Millicent Bennett. This is so much fun. We have obviously a very special episode here today of Galley Gab Fest because we have with us esteemed, acclaimed, beloved author Armistead Maupin. It's an honor, sir, to have you with us today. Thank you so much for taking the time.
It's my honor, Virginia.
You are an absolute treasure, and it's our honor to have you here. And joining us today is Millicent Bennett, who is your editor of your latest book, the latest installment in the Tales of the City series, and that's Mona of the Manor, which is coming out next year. I think we have a couple of visuals we can show. There's the jacket. Yeah, and here we are. I mean, the 10th and final installment of the series, and what a way to go out, and what a way to celebrate this by having this conversation. We always say that, the relationship between an editor and an author is really something that is so personal and unique, really. And so we thank you both for taking the time to be here today to talk about the book and in general, just like this whole wonderful series and this Armistead, everything that you've done for libraries. I mean, you've been in the video studio multiple times, recording messages of love and support for libraries. You've been to library conferences and doing this now. So thank you.
Thank you. Libraries are important, very important, and librarians are, how important it is. I'm not sure the world knows much longer, but it depresses me to think about it. But I treasure my relationship with both my editor and with librarians.
Yeah. Sadly, I feel like it's more and more. I mean, I think, the appreciation for libraries and librarians has been at the forefront, but now they are at the forefront more than ever with the book banning that has just amplified, really ramped up. And so to that we salute them, because they are brave and strong and they're fighting the fight. Okay, so I'm going to give a brief intro of Armistead and Millicent. Lainey, Grace, and I will go away, but not too far away. So if you all have questions, type them in. We're coming to you from Crowdcast. I think there's a Facebook glitch, so go to Crowdcast. If you have any questions or comments, just write them in, and Lainey, Grace, and I will take a look at those and chime in. But we're going to just do a quick intro, and then we're going to sit back and listen to this lovely, intimate conversation between editor and author Armistead Maupin. So, Armistead Maupin, the author of the Tales of the City series, which includes Tales of the City, More Tales of the City, Further Tales of the City, Baby Cakes, Significant Others, Shore of You, Michael Tolliver Lives Here, Marianne in Autumn, and The Days of Anna Madrigal. Your other books include the memoir Logical Family and the novels Maybe the Moon and The Night Listener. Your next installment and final installment in the Tales of the City series is Mona of the Manor, which is set in the early 1900s, and it follows the adventures of Mona Ramsay, now the widowed lady of a glorious old manor in Britain's Golden Cotswolds. So I'm going to let you and Millicent talk more about that, how this came to be, and maybe what blanks it's filling in to scratch the itch of all those who love this series so much. And Millicent Bennett, executive editor, who acquires primarily literary fiction, upmarket book club fiction, and voice and character-driven narrative nonfiction, including memoir, with an emphasis on marginalized and unrepresented voices. You joined Harper in 2021 as part of the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt integration, where you served as editorial director, and after 17 years as editor at PRH, SNS, and Hachette. Recent best-selling and award-winning authors whom you've published include Susanna Callahan, Brain on Fire, and The Great Pretender, Sally Field, In Pieces, Minjin Lee Pachinko, Douglas Preston, The Lost City of the Monkey God, Jess Walter, The Angel of Rome, and Other Stories, and many, many others. Millicent, thank you so, so much.
So excited to be here.
Oh, we are so excited to have you. So without further ado, my camera goes off, my mic goes off. We are a click away. So with that, let's hear from both of you. Thank you.
Thank you. So Armistead, I think I'm supposed to be interviewing you, and I was like, I'm going to put together a few questions. And then I realized that I just had pages and pages and pages of questions.
Well,
So,
I can answer them.
I'm sure you can. But I want to start, by talking about the book itself, which I feel a little bit like a fraud saying I'm your editor, because I think I had like 3 notes for you.
Well, the notes you gave me that were most important were the encouraging ones. I don't think an editor is supposed to, necessarily tell you what's wrong with your work, but you boosted my confidence at a time when it wasn't around. I mean, I was, I went through lockdown trying to write this book, and
it
took a while.
It came out like, Athena from the head of Zeus. It is such a perfect encapsulation of, what it should be, and just the joy of everything, that people have always loved about Tales of the City. I mean, it's really, we've got new characters, that are really, as vibrant as anyone we met in San Francisco. We've got Mona, we Michael Tolliver and Anna Madrigal come in again, and just the brightness and energy on the page, that you've been able to bring to it. You're, as I think it was Booklist said, you really are in top form still, on book 10 of the series.
That's encouraging. I had as an inspiration my memories of Dodie Smith's I Capture the Castle, which is one of my favorite books, still is, about this, sort of lovable eccentrics all living in this rundown house and trying to make a go of it. And that was written, when did she write that? In the late 40s, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
And I'm sorry, I'll kick myself that I never tried to meet her here. There was a time where I came over to visit, and somebody said, well, she's out at her little cottage somewhere. And I never did. I could have looked her up and met her. I had the California connection with it was that she moved to Santa Monica, and lived near Christopher Isherwood. And so he knew her and her lovely young husband. And so I felt that I had a connection with it. But anyway, that's where it came from. And when I realized I could write a novel that followed that format, I was very excited.
Yeah. Is there, and the house itself is based on a house that you have visited
Yes, yes. It's inspired by Stanway House, which is up in the Cotswolds, and it's this beautiful. I won't say run down, but it's got a kind of patina on it. And it was famous for a lot of people fell in love with it. James Barrie spent time there, the author of Peter Pan. And I had somebody hook me up with the Lord of the Manor back 40 years ago now. And I met who was then Lord Jamie Needpath. He's now James Needpath, the 13th Earl of what the fuck. That's what Jack called him not too long ago. And Mona called him that too. He's a really charming eccentric, and he loves his house. He's been working on it for years. He built the tallest fountain I think it's close. The record is the tallest fountain in England that spews up hundreds of feet, and it draws tourists in the summer, which is a good thing because they need money. Like most grand old houses, they need people to pay for come in.
How do you think he would feel, or do you know how he feels about your portrait of Easley House?
Well, I think he does because I looked him up 40 years after, and he, when it took, he didn't quite know who I was when I showed up at the house 40 years later, and he was such a gentleman. He made a show of knowing who I was, and when we finally made it clear to him, he said, "Oh, Armistead, I've been trying to get in touch with you for 35 years. I presume he read Baby Cakes, but he was just as charming as ever, and he showed us around, and he turned on the fountain for us. And, I hope to visit him again, this coming year.
That would be amazing.
But I don't think he was traumatized by it at all. I mean, I made a point of saying in the introduction that it wasn't him, that I was just using his house.
That seems fair.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think, I keep thinking about Easley House, and 28 Barbary Lane, and the way that, they're both these sort of, places to escape from the world and sort of, create a community. Do you feel like Mona, would have done what Anna did, in terms of having...
Well, she kind of did. I mean, she's made a family there at that house. It's very much the same thing. So I tend to deal in real estate, I realize. If I can create a place that has its own charm and makes you want to be there, I'm happy.
Is it different, sort of, right? I mean, I know you live in London now, and I think as of recently you're now a British citizen. Is that right?
Yeah, I am. Last week.
Congratulations.
I went in for the ceremony, which I thought was going to be kind of hokey and pompous and unnecessary. And Chris and I both, my husband and I both, were really deeply moved by the ceremony because we saw every color and configuration of people coming forward and being introduced. This is Mary. She's from Kuala Lumpur. This is, it was a march of humanity in front of us, all wanting to be British citizens. So I was very touched by it.
Wow. I was going to ask if if there are ways in which writing about this kind of community in England, feels different from writing about these sorts of communities in San Francisco, or if it's really just humanity doing what it does.
Doing what it does. That's the answer. You've got it right there. I always put my heart into the story wherever it's set, and I had no problem imagining this life and these people. And of course, I had my own have my own visitors in the form of Michael and Mrs. Madrigal.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, I'm not. Well, I think it works. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, it absolutely works. Is there? I know you said, once upon a time, and you've said it more than once, that sort of Mona was a kind of representation of your cynical side, and Michael Tolliver was kind of your romantic side, and that Anna Madrigal is kind of who you wish you could be. And I think she was inspired by your grandmother. Is that right?
Yes, she was. Interestingly, my grandmother is the person who made my citizenship possible, because she was, let me see if I can make this quick. When she left England in 1917, there was another family here in London that it was not her family. I mean, what I'm trying to say is she and my grandfather were never married and sort of ran away together, so that when they got to the States, she was not able to pass her citizenship off to her children. My grandfather died not long after they moved, and the laws in England at the time discriminated against women in terms of being able to pass on the primogeniture or whatever it is.
Right.
So the English government is trying to correct that nowadays. And when they found out that my grandmother had her rights curtailed because she was a woman, they just jumped on it and were very excited about it. So I'm so happy to be, have been the person that ended that. She was a suffragist in England. She was an amazing woman. I adored her. And now she has someone in England that carries her citizenship.
That's so wonderful.
Yeah, I'm thrilled.
That's really it. Was she your mother? Your mother?
My mother's mother.
Got it. How did she feel about, sort of the conservative way that your family,
Well, I think she tolerated it. I mean, they moved to first of all, to Asheville, North Carolina. So she must have dealt with a lot of serious conservatives, but she was charming too. And so I don't know. I really don't know. I often wish I could bring her back and say, "What did you think about this old bastard?" The first one I'd ask about is my grandfather, he got a lot of women pregnant.
Oh my.
And I keep hearing new ones and finding new cousins that I'm supposed to know. And my grandmother just tolerated it. I don't know, she must have been happy to be there with her children. But it was a colorful family.
Did she get a chance to read the books?
I told her about the first book. This is in my memoir, Logical Family. I told her about it in her rest home in Alexandria, and she didn't know who I was, at all for a while, until I remembered that she liked to read poems. So I put my hand out to her and said, "Granny," and she grabbed it and immediately knew who I was. Said, "Teddy, you're in your 40s now." So we had a link there at the last minute. I told her I'd written a book and that the main character was inspired by her spirit, and she got it. She knew that before she died, and I was very happy about it.
That's wonderful. That's really, because I think these books, as you know too well, mean so much to so many people that, it's kind of lovely that her legacy is carrying on in that way too.
Yeah. It is for me.
Yeah. Well, now it is in England as well.
Well, the books have always been very popular over here. It's satisfying, to say the least.
Speaking of sort of popularity and book bans that we were talking about with with Virginia a minute ago, is there sort of a history of your books getting banned? Have you been able to navigate that?
Well, Margaret Thatcher's government seized the books at a bookstore called Gaze the Word. And there's a wonderful photo of these people all packing the tales into the back of a car so they can take it off. And so it wasn't always appreciated here.
Yeah. Did the same thing happen in the States as well?
No, I don't think they've been seized anywhere.
Except by very eager readers at bookstores.
Yeah, that's what I like.
I think you said that it was Anita Bryant who kind of inspired you to really, make Michael Tolliver kind of come out to his in his letter to Mama. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, it was right there. It was obvious to me what had to be done as soon as I saw it in the Chronicle. When I was working in the Chronicle, there was a big story about how she was mouthing off about all of that, and I thought, I got really mad about it, and I thought, well, you have a perfect vehicle to address it. You have a character who's gay, whose parents are from Orlando, Florida. And so I just folded it into the story.
And what was the kind of reaction to that culturally?
Not bad. I mean, I was living in San Francisco, so everybody was cheering me on. San Francisco helped a lot. Let me get over myself in many ways. All the terrible things I'd been taught as a little boy growing up in the South. So, I think it was very well received, actually, the letter, and it's had a life of its own. It's been made into a couple of musical renditions, and so it lives on. That letter.
I mean, it means so much to so many people. How would you kind of compare the kind of cultural situation back then to where we are now? Because it felt like, during the Obama years, it felt like we were headed in the right direction, in terms of civil rights issues. And it feels like we're not headed in the right direction, but there's a whole half of the country that's definitely headed backwards.
Well, I must confess that that's part of the reason we moved to England, and that we got sick of having guns around that were taking the lives of children and all of that. A fascist. I called Trump a fascist in my memoir 4 years ago, and it's been dead right. So I still love California and San Francisco and America to a certain degree, but I don't love the way things are heading. Yeah. And we had a chance to come here and live and make a new life, and so we just took it. I have dual citizenship, so I can be anywhere I want to be. But right now, I choose to be here in London, which has so much to offer. My God, we go to the theater every other night, and we live on a beautiful park on the Common, Clapham Common, and can take our dog out there to walk, and it's nothing not to love, you know.
Yeah. Do you think, I was thinking about how the Tales sort of took on the AIDS epidemic kind of head on at the, when everything happened in the early 80s. Do you feel like this is a similar kind of moment, a sea change moment, or is this the kind of prejudice pendulum swinging back and forth? Like, do you think that Tales would be the same if you were writing it today?
Well, I am writing it today.
I know you are writing it today, but you're right. But
I addressed issues that really make me angry today back in 93, happening in 93. I was shocked when I got to England and heard various journalists tell me that the transsexual, transgender movement was problematic, that it was a complicated issue. And there was a lot of, there was a lot of feminists, lesbian feminists who followed the example of J.K. Rowling, who were leading the charge against people. And I thought, I can't have that. Cannot. We're not going back on the issue of transgender rights. We're not going back. They were part of the movement from the very beginning and have been present in our lives all this time, and my loyalty lies there. So I addressed that in Mona of the Manor.
Mm-hmm. I think the Jesse Helms part you've sort of brought in really brilliantly as well. with our villainous character, who works.
Yeah.
But
I couldn't let old
Jesse. Your own
Jesse.
history with Jesse Helms.
Yeah, I do, and my family did. And I worked for him at the television station in the late 60s. And he was championing me at the time, I was his golden boy because I was conservative. And when my life changed, my opinion of Jesse changed radically. And so I felt like I had to remind myself that he was around in my life by giving him a character that worked for him.
Well, and Ernie, who is the character and one of the two Americans who comes to Easley House and kind of sets off the narrative of the book. I think he's such an interesting character because there's so much that's villainous about him. He's a terribly flawed character, but also, there's still so much kind of sympathy there, surrounding who he is, and if nothing else, the dog. You can't fully hate someone. You cannot fully hate someone that a dog loves.
Yeah, I had fun with that concept. That's really quite true.
Can you talk a little bit about sort of the creation of that character?
Of the dog or of Ernie?
Or of the dog. I was thinking Ernie.
Well, I put a lot of my father into Ernie. He did things that were likable. My mother loved the fact that he loved dogs, and I don't think I made him that likable, but
he's let's say I didn't forgive him in the end.
No, good.
He did the right thing. Is there who would you say is your kind of favorite character, either in Mona or in all the tales?
Mona. Period. Mona.
In everything?
Pretty much. because she said the things that I was thinking usually, and she's not nailed down as anything. She is a lesbian, yes, but she has, she had a few lapses, which she was with a man, and she's more complicated than most of the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I love Marianne too, I have to say that, but I don't know. I leave it up to people to decide who's the good guy and the bad guy in these stories.
That's so interesting, because I would have guessed Michael, I think.
Well, everybody thinks he's me, but
and you're my favorite, so interesting. That's really interesting. So it's fitting that this kind of, final book in the Tales series is with Mona and her freedom.
Yeah, I felt that I owed that to her. The last 3 books have covered 3 of the important characters, and
right.
So I felt I owed that to her, and I would have more fun doing it, really.
When did you decide to write this?
I think I proposed it about 4 years ago. I'm not sure, but I think it was about 4 years ago.
And it was
when I knew I was living here, and I wanted to write about England anyway. So, yeah, roughly that time. It took me much longer than the other ones did. I was, as I mentioned before, it sort of traumatized me, and I'm so blessed to have a husband who just doesn't say, "Have you written anything today?" Because sometimes I haven't. Often I haven't.
I spent the entire pandemic, sitting around in my pajamas eating cheese. So the fact that you wrote this book is vastly impressive to me.
Well, thank you very much. But Chris, of course, was down making sourdough bread in the kitchen and was inspired to do all sorts of things.
Along with every other American.
Yeah.
Wow.
We all did the same thing, didn't we? We've all compare our experience in the pandemic to each other. I kind of liked it, to tell you the truth. I liked, I didn't have FOMO at all. I was freed to just hang out around the house. I didn't have to worry about a party I was missing, or I liked it.
I kind of did too. I think there was a certain joy for me as an introvert in just being told to stay home.
Yeah, me too. I admit to that status myself. Introvert is perfect.
You have the most impressive list of friends, I think, of anyone I've ever met. From every possible, sort of big celebrity, actor, writer, everyone, they've all named their children after you, which does not surprise me. It sort of makes me want to have another child. But
only Laura Linney did that, not all of them.
But is this how did you make this sort of incredible group of friends?
I've never cultivated people who are famous or anything.
No, I know.
But you just try to have genuine moments with people, and sometimes they're well known, and sometimes they aren't. Plenty of my friends aren't famous, and they're as important to me as the others.
Yeah,
I'm not a collector.
No, I didn't mean to imply you were.
No, I know you didn't. Most of it is linked in my life to the fact that I've been out for 112 years. And and the people I've bonded with have been similarly honest about their lives. So, so Ian McKellen is there. Jake Shears, who wrote the music to Tales of the City, is getting quite famous over here. And I'm thrilled about it, But for the most part, it's just because I've tried to keep it personal,
And maybe I just love that, you lived down the street from George R.R. Martin when you were in Santa Fe, and
that was amazing that happened. But yes, I did. And he came over and told us stories. It was amazing.
I
think of it, you might be right about it.
They're all out there bragging that they're friends with you.
I don't know about that.
I would be. But it's really, I think it's just wonderful how, how deeply people connect, because as you say, it's all about that kind of genuine truth and the freedom to sort of live your truth that comes through, in your books, but also just in the way you've lived your life. Are there, I know you hate being sort of considered an elder.
No, I don't.
Of the LGBTQ movement, but you really
no, I don't hate that at all.
Oh, good, because you are.
Thank you.
And are there people that you feel like you are either learning from now, younger folks, or, who are doing the same kind of work that whether you call it work or not, but the same kind of radical pioneering now that you were doing back then?
Well, yes. I'm not going to name them for you right away, but there are plenty of young people that are, still at the ramparts, need to fight the fight.
Yeah.
Do
you think it's the same?
People are very vividly aware that, the battle is almost never over. It's one of the things that's so exhausting about it. But you want to have hang on to it, because it can be taken away,
And it is.
Yeah, there are people trying right now to take it away.
Yeah. And no, it's very, very
demonizing drag queens, for heaven's sakes. How low can you go?
Drag queens, but not guns.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the time and realizing that we've probably got people who might want to be asking questions who aren't me.
Well, I've been enjoying getting your questions.
I've got so many, but I can grab you any day. I want to make sure the people who are watching get a chance to. I don't know. Is it would Virginia? Oh, there you are.
Hi. This has been so wonderful, and we have many people watching from all over the place. Just a couple of specific questions. So I don't want to take away from this wonderful conversation. We can leave it. If you want to continue your questions to Armistead, that's great, because these are such inside baseball, I feel. But so when you're ready to take a minute, and I can ask them now, or we can keep going.
Go ahead and ask now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All
you
right.
can explain to me later what inside baseball means.
Okay. I'll make it up. Okay. Lillian Dabney out in Seattle, she wants to know, who are some of your influences, and where does the inspiration from your characters come from?
I've often cited Christopher Isherwood as the biggest inspiration for my writing. If you look at his work, at the Berlin stories, you've got an apartment house, run by an eccentric landlady and a gay man and a straight woman being there, and so many of my ideas were directly from him. what was the other part of the question?
Um,
Influences.
Yeah, what is where does the inspiration from his character? Where did the inspiration for your characters come from? Just
A lot of them are me. I just stole from my own life. Sometimes with the minor characters, there are were San Franciscans that I knew that I usually wanted to make mild fun of. I don't know where it comes from.
yeah,
That's the honest
no,
answer.
that's what makes you a writer. That's what makes
Yeah.
that's it. That magical wonderland. Let's see. Who are some of your favorite authors to read? You have mentioned a few already. Are there others that you want to make sure people know about?
No, I don't want them to know about any other authors. No, I can't come up with one right off the top of my head. But I've always loved Patrick Gale. He's an Englishman, and he writes these for since the 80s. He was writing these charming novels that had people of all sexual stripe in them, and he's an amazing writer, as a matter of fact. But I think let's leave it at that. I'll take another question.
Yeah. Okay. We have Lainey and Grace. We have some questions in the Q&A as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of love in the chat. Everybody's really loving this conversation, so thank you for doing it. We have a question. Someone said they came a bit late, so they hope it's not been answered. Wondering if, when you started the series, if you ever envisioned that it would be so enduring in both popularity and relevance, and are some more of a thought about that. And are there authors or works that you would particularly recommend to tweens and young people struggling with issues of acceptance?
I'm going to pass on the tween recommendations. There are plenty of writers writing for teens now, and good ones. No, I didn't know. I didn't know that the stories would survive the way they have. I had no idea. I was mostly just trying to write a column in the beginning. I was just trying to tell a story that was in the newspaper, and I had to have something that wasn't going to end up on the bottom of somebody's birdcage the next day. But
I was going to ask if you would tell the story about the Safeway on Wednesday nights.
Okay, you mean just
how isn't that how
sort of how Tales got ignited? Really, in the beginning, a woman I knew said, "You should see what the Safeway, the Marina Safeway, is like on a Wednesday night." And I went there and found all these women overdressed, and some men overdressed, cruising the vegetable aisle, because it was a great place to pick up people, apparently. And I couldn't find anybody that would tell me the truth, would fess up to it, especially in print, because I was coming as a reporter. And so I just made up a character, Mary Ann Singleton, who was there to meet the man of her dreams. And when she finally meets him, Michael Tolliver, he's there with the man of his dreams. And it was a very popular story because it sort of reflected what was happening in the city. And so I spun it off from there. It actually appeared in the Marina Safeway, the Marina Safeway, the Pacific Sun, in another forum before Tales of the City began. It's complicated, but there was a column called The Serial, where I had about 4 episodes. Anyway,
Love
It was
it.
a wonderful oddball thing that led me down the rabbit trail.
That Safeway changed your life.
Safeway changed my life. Still there.
There's a commercial for you.
Yeah.
You
Or
should-
the title of your next book. Okay, let's see. We have more questions, don't we? Let's see. Okay.
I have one from Rob. They
Okay.
said, I loved Maybe the Moon. Will you now work on another non-Tales novel?
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that very much. I'm actually talking to somebody about a film adaptation of Maybe the Moon. It hasn't. It's just in the air right now, but it might have another life. I'm very proud of that novel. I took on a subject that nobody thought I should take on, and it was popular. And it was especially popular amongst little people who invited me to their various conventions to talk. It was fun doing it because it was set in LA. I could deal with a whole different milieu from San Francisco. What was the other question?
There's a question from Sylvia Bonani who says, if you hadn't become an author, what would your profession be?
Well, my father wanted me to be a lawyer. I realized I did not want to do that. I suppose it would have something to do with it. I'd probably be an interior decorator or something like that.
Interior decorator of mansions.
Well, that's the nice thing about being a writer is you've got that, opportunity. I get to live in those places.
Speaking of interior decor, I need to ask about the photos behind you, the painting.
Okay.
What are they?
Let me see what I need to do. Maybe.
Oh, I don't know that we can. Oh, there we go.
That's Don Bacardi's portrait of me in 1983. I think I was 32. And Chris posed for Don Bacardi when he was 32.
Wow.
And this guy over here, this shirtless hunk, was my first piece of homoerotica. I saw it in a bookstore when I was going to pick up in a magazine stand, when I was going to pick up my grandmother from getting her hair done. And my heart was aflutter. But I didn't have the nerve to take it out of the store or even buy it And I told the story to a young friend of mine, who said, I have some old magazines that were given to me. It's an older man who was dying and said, you take them, I don't have any use for them. And he knew the name of the magazine was Demigods. And so he said, I'll bring them over for you to look at. And he says, is this one of them? And I said, that's not one of them. That's the very one.
Wow.
So I keep him here as a reminder of where I've been and my terrors as a young gay man. And it's really kind of funny.
I'm so glad I asked.
Yeah.
That's such a great story.
That's him. His last name is Kuntz. Deeply unfortunate thing. But
I love it.
Yeah.
You can't make it up.
Yeah. You can't make it up.
There's a lovely comment here I'd like to read. And again, Millicent, if you have more questions, we have a little bit of time left. So I don't want to, this is a very special thing that we have with both of you. So, but I would like to read this quote from, I believe it's Kiara Warren, I'm not sure. Love the Tale series, discovered Armistead while keeping warm in a library in Poplar back in 2005. The Night Listener was hooked. I'll be rereading Tales for the 4th time before Mona of the Manor. Glad Armistead and Chris are loving London. Tales is the most heartwarming books that remind me of the good in humanity.
That's very sweet.
Yeah. Millicent, do you have want to go back to, because I don't want to take away from any of your questions.
No, I mean, that's such a beautiful and true statement. I as much as I would love to talk to Armistead forever and ever, I know we don't have tons of time. So I don't know. Is there anything else you want to make sure we talk about, Armistead?
I think you've covered it pretty well.
including your walls.
Including my walls, yeah.
I love your walls. We just, again, so much love here. And you can go back and look at all of these quotes, and they're just, just love from across the country. Gratitude to you for all of the books that you've written. That lovely quote from Kiara about the Tales of the City series. And you're right, Millicent, we could be here for forever, but we do want to be respectful of Armistead's time. This has been something that we've been just really looking forward to. Again, this is an honor to talk to you, to have you here. You are so lovely. Thank you for making the time with the time difference to talk to Millicent. And Millicent, thank you for the time that you put into this. And it's wonderful questions. It's really great. Mona of the Manor goes on sale March 5th, 2024. This interview will be recorded, and we'll just keep sharing it so that more and more people who weren't able to come today can hear this great conversation. It's really like just sitting back and listening to two friends talk about some fun stuff and some really interesting bits and pieces of your life and the books. It's just been lovely.
And
easy with Millicent. Easy peasy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy.
She's a lovely person.
I am so just honored beyond honor that I got to work with you on this book, because the book itself is phenomenal and brings me joy whenever I think about it. And you are phenomenal and bring me joy whenever I think about you. So it's a joy stint in my heart, as Liz would say.
Thank you.
And thank you, both of you, and everyone else for watching. And happy holidays to all of you. And Armistead, enjoy your lovely life in England. I envy you. I'm very, very glad that you're where you want to be, where you need to be.
Thank you
so much for this lovely hour and for this wonderful series. Thank you for all of your contributions.
It's been a pleasure.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening, and take good care. Happy holidays. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Oh, quick reminder though, before I stop recording,
sorry.
We have a Writers to Watch coming up. So our next author event, thank you, Grace. We're going to have Jessica Shattuck, Ace Atkins, and Diane Richards. It's the 14th of December. It's a good early holiday present to yourself to come listen to these authors and keep the conversations going. We hope to see you there.
Thank you. Thank you, Lainey. Thank you, Grace. Totally forgot that. And we can't wait to hear from those authors. A little bit of everything for every reader. So, okay. And now I think we're done. Bye, all.
Bye-bye.